All right, blue-red flash. We had played iterations of this in previous seasons. At the last Mythic Invitational Championship thing that was on Arena, a number of players actually chose to play this archetype in that. We've got a few cards for the new set that we slotted in here today. We've got some Dorat the Perfect Pets here, which, while not a flash threat, it's similar to Cutthroat in that it's a proactive threat to play early. And I actually really like the inclusion of this card in this deck. One of the things that these flash decks have always felt like is there are draws where you have Cutthroat on 2 and it gets to run away with the game, and the draws where you don't have Cutthroat on 2 tend to feel night and day different. And basically having 8 cards to play out on the second turn to start getting proactive and beating people down while you disrupt them seems really good. We've also got 3 copies of Shark Typhoon here as just a cheap cantrip and also threat in the late game. This is another of the many decks that's largely playing Shark Typhoon as a method of cycling it as opposed to casting it for 6 mana. We've got a pair of Voracious Great Sharks here, which may or may not be reasonable. We'll see. I think without Frilled Mystic and Blue-Red, playing a couple of these is probably pretty okay. And then we've got a pair of Embercleave here at the very top end of our curve that lets us close the game out pretty quickly with Cutthroat or Dorat or Bonecrusher Giant or Shark. So this card's just very good still and end games ASAP. Let's go ahead and hop on into some ladder matches here with this one and see how it goes. All right, and we're muting the tweet that pissed off the Eternal format players, so they're going to be whiny for the next few days, I assume. Let's just get that one out of my mention, shall we? That's a good suggestion. If you are someone who plans to play in the Hoots tournament tomorrow and you are registered, if you know what deck you are playing, you should submit it now in advance. If you submit a deck list now and you come to some epiphany between now and when the deadline is tomorrow morning, you can update your deck list after having that epiphany, so long as it's still before the deadline. I posted a tweet making fun of people who are complaining about companions in Legacy and Vintage. Not even really making fun of them, but more so pointing out how silly it is that they only hate new cards and not old cards. Hello, oldest son. You're all done with the phone?
Well, Mommy, me, or President in my phone.
Okay. Love you, bud.
What the President in, Daddy? What the President in?
I don't need your money, turd. Bugger off, pound sand. That's the other false equivalency. We banned the person who got upset that I told them they weren't allowed to make gender identity jokes in my channel. Because they felt that was comparable to talking about people being silly, complaining about Magic the Gathering cards. Sorry, life is shades of gray. It's not black and white. Pound sand. I have no idea, Ninja Turtle Jr. We are playing this as a deck submission for the first time on stream right now. Who's a good little pet? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thanks for the biddies, Lock. I appreciate it. Tide Pods wasn't millennials, right? That was Gen X. If I recall correctly. Yeah, I feel like that was, or Gen Z or whatever it's Z. X is before millennials, right? It's the one after millennials. Well, I mean, like, words having meanings is really tough for a lot of older people to understand, Marty. Dispute's rough. A smaller open for a time for Europe, probably not, Time Lord. If I'm being honest, I know it's tough for people in non-US states to play in the longer events, but the running an event like that, it's better for content if I do it in one long event. The longer you're live for, the more you build up, the more people watch throughout the course of the day. And the number one goal is making content with it, and especially if we're filling the tournaments during the time slot I'm already picking out. There isn't just a lot of incentive for me to really change things up. This card might be the reason why. Actually, you know what? There's no Brazen Borrowers in this 75. I'll say this card might be the reason why this deck's not good, but this is a reason to just play Brazen Borrower, right? Morning, Butters. Yeah, Shark Typhoon's a super playable card. It's very, very good in general. I'm not gonna lie. Some of my favorite timeouts are the ones where people suggest or ask why we're not playing a card we're actually playing. I like how Arena offers you the option to pay 2 mana that you don't actually have to pay. It's like, thanks, Arena. Oh, you know what? I totally recognize your username. I blocked you yesterday, Squirtle Squad, because you liked a tweet that said we shouldn't condemn the entire Republican Party and we should vote for people individually based on what they claim to run for. And that position is not based in reality. You're right, in a perfect world, we would vote for people based on the positions they claim to run for. But in reality, where the rest of us live, if you look at the number of really important votes that have taken place in both state and especially federal lines that have gone straight down the party line and decided very important, critical things, the party that you vote for does really matter regardless of what the individual person running claims to stand for, because when push comes to shove, pretty much all of them fall in line. And maybe when we get to a point where there's 2 reasonable political parties in the United States, we can talk about voting not based on party line. But as long as the GOP continues to push into literal fascism with their politics and oppression of people who are in protected groups, you know, that's just not okay. And voting for Republicans is ignorant and hateful. You might not be ignorant and hateful, but if you vote for politicians who are ignorant and hateful, you're enabling ignorant and hateful things. All right, so we need Brazen Borrower. This card, I thought this card might be optional. I had forgotten about Shark Typhoon. It's definitely not optional with Shark Typhoon. The GOPers who didn't want to fall in line have since retired. Is reality. The people that didn't want to fall in line behind Donald Trump and the party of xenophobia and racism and hatefulness that he represents, they've retired. They've left. They've walked out of the building. Whisper me your Twitter link, Squirtle Squad. I don't know the specifics of each individual governor that's currently handling the COVID pandemic crisis, but here's what I do know. Not all Republican governors are handling the COVID crisis poorly, but of all the governors who are handling the COVID crisis poorly, they are all Republicans. Not all rectangles are squares, but all the squares are definitely rectangles, and that's an important distinction to understand. Says the guy inside a square. Yep. It's a tough one to grasp, Farron. A lot of people can't make that correlation between the two things. You mean the guy inside a rectangle? Easy. Easy Ionize. Daily deals are updated. We'll take a peek in a second. This phase is going to be roadblocked. Not for very long. This thing gets big relatively quickly. We've got an Embercleave to cut through as well. If they block here, I'm going to opt plus Borrower bounce this Innkeeper. You see, we've become the baddie. We're very far from the baddie. We're playing a brew. Blitz of the Thunder or something. We don't actually put that many instants and sorceries in our graveyard in this deck. When you look at our deck and think about the spells we're casting, a lot of our instants and sorceries are actually adventure creatures. They have a Bonecrusher Giant here. That'll be real unfortunate. Yikes. Thanks for 3/4 of a year, Bill Kintin. Welcome back. How was Legacy Day? It was funny. Funny's a good word for it. That's fine. The more I believe it or not, the more I play the Gyruda deck in Legacy, the more I become convinced that the people that think it should be banned are probably pretty off base. Thanks for 3/4 of a year, Fen. Welcome back. Alright, on the off chance our opponent's a little bit unlucky here, Embercleave might let us close this game out next turn. Need to dodge Bonecrusher Giant, and need to dodge Brazen Borrower of their own. Yeah, exactly, and yeah. As someone who's blasted off a lot in Legacy, it feels very similar to those other ones. Hey, Noltad, thanks for the half a year, welcome back. Yeah, it's exactly right. It struggles with like normal Legacy hit cards. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, that one felt really sweet yesterday. I feel like there's something there if people really work on it. So, titular hero. There's actually been an issue with people being able to drop themselves on... There's been an issue with people being able to drop themselves on the Melee site, so if you need to drop, make sure to DM my wife on Discord, Krillydactyl, and she'll get it sorted out for you. Hopefully Melee gets it sorted at some point. Great. If these don't interact with this, we can kill them next turn. They do get a redraw here, so we need this not to interact with it either. The fact they're just playing this out instead of just casting this makes me feel like they probably have an answer for this already. Yeah, if they have Stomp or a Borrower of their own, we're pretty much just dead here. If you rip a NATO, you get one more turn? No, that's not true, right? There's a pause. How dead are we? Probably pretty dead. Best way to build decks straight out of... buying booster packs is the best way to get cards on Magic Arena, if that's the question you're asking. No, yeah, if we drew this, we were only attacking for 4. With the cleave. Sprite Dragon plus equip. Did I have 7 mana? I don't remember if I had 7 mana or not. Maybe I had 7. I don't remember now. Oh, cleave was getting bounced. Yeah, sure. Yep, super 0%. 0 of the percentages to win. Yeah, but just casting it wasn't enough, Pie Master Pie. I had to play a guy, attack, equip cleave, and cast a spell. Is 736 high enough with 6 days? No, you need to be higher, Niv. I would estimate you probably need to be, if you wanted to stop playing today, you probably need to be in, like, top 2 to 300. The lower you are, the faster you fall. The way the ladder system works. Oh, yeah, you're right. If the cleave comes back, yeah, you're right, because the cleave triggers this, right? It's not just instance. It's any non-creature spell. It's a good call. I don't remember how much mana we had. We might have had an out there. I know something to think about too is like talking about, does this card solve issues that this deck potentially has? Like, if there's Brazen Borrowers and Teferi's running around, this type of effect is a lot worse, right? Because it just like gets reset. Hey, nice contest. I'm looking forward to the event too. It solves the issue of adorable art missing from your deck, yep. Yeah, I'm trying out Psycho Lands over Temples. Hey, Xian, thanks for the brand new Prime support. Welcome to Hoglandia. Why does it say Dispute is won all the time? Because that's a feature in the latest Magic Arena patch. Another stomp here. Could just be another borrower bounce as well, though. Feels like another stomp. I'm having some regrets registering for the ladder with this deck. I think we're going to switch to a constructed event after this one. Can someone explain what people mean when they say the ecosystem of Legacy? They mean the cards that have been legal for forever. People genuinely believe that if a card is busted, it's okay that that card's still legal so long as it was printed a long time ago. They consider it a feature, not a bug. If a busted card was printed 20 years ago and remains legal. I really love the people that are arguing vintage, they should be banned in vintage. Like, that's wild. I made a post implying people were silly for saying companions should be banned in legacy and vintage. And legacy and vintage players were very offended at the idea that companions should remain legal in their format. It was very, very, very not okay. They don't want a $50 card that's as powerful as their $5,000 card. Yeah, basically. Vintage technically has anti-cards and Shahrazad banned, right? I believe that's the vintage ban list. Vintage ban list is anti-cards and Shahrazad. And dexterity cards. Dexterity cards. Yep. Dexterity cards. And conspiracy subtype cards. Okay. Feels dead, man. All right, let's take this one to a contracted event so we can form more of an opinion of it without setting my rank down completely down the gutter. There are 3 spots open in the tournament. We had 3 players that had realized they had conflicts and drops. So if you're someone that was interested in playing, they're gonna be first come, first serve. Consider yourselves lucky here, hearing it first. But there are three slots open on the MTG Melee page. Get them while they're hot, chat. Yeah, the bot is super slow today. Yeah, this looks fine. I'll bottom the cleave for now because we don't need that till a little bit later. Dexterity cards, what are those? Chaos Orb is the dexterity card offhand. Are there other dexterity cards? Or is it just Chaos Orb? Falling Star. What's Falling Star? Someone pull a text box up on that one for me. That's one I don't know offhand. Flip Falling Star onto the player area from a height of at least 1 foot. Deals 3 damage to each creature it lands on. Tap all creatures dealt damage by Falling Star. It has no effect. That's great. That's great. So uncards before unsets. No, those cards aren't uncards, chat. Those cards are quite literally Magic the Gathering as Richard Garfield intended it to be played. In the most literal sense possible. Those cards represent Magic the Gathering as Richard Garfield intended. Do I play Dorian and potentially run into a Shatter here? I think the answer is yes. Yes, Anti. Richard Garfield also intended Magic to be literally gambling with anti-cards. Hopefully they just Sphinx here. Maybe I'm just supposed to hold up Dispute there. Feels like we're just dead here again. Stroke and Dispute can come in here. Gust can come in. Shock is not very useful. Bonecrusher Giant's not very useful. I still have 12 creatures plus 2 Shark Typhoons is 14 threats. It's probably fine. Richard Garfield also thought Artifact was fun. Rip Artifact. Rip Artifact. It's funny because it's true. It's funny because it's true. How is Legacy? Ah, hoot. Hey, Fatso, thanks for the 28 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. You can't mulligan a full house. Well, opponent's definitely going to have a good hand this game. Get their scry on. I don't know if Garfield's wealthy, but I would be surprised if he hasn't made enough money to just, like, live comfortably and pick and choose whatever he wants to work on for the rest of his life. I know he has an open... I know he has an open invitation, could come visit and design magic cards whenever he wants, and he infrequently dips in and does that. Dominaria was the last set he helped with. So, 5 mana Teferi is... Yeah, but there's, like, degrees of wealthy, right? Richard Garfield's also older, right? So he could just, like, have modest savings and be ready to retire early. Net worth of 10 million from some quick Googling. That's true. That's true. 5 mana Teferi is infinitely better than 3 mana Teferi. Big agrees. Yeah, sagas were Garfield's baby, and those are a great card type, right? Really, really love sagas. He owned most of the stock in Wizards of the Coast before it was sold to Hasbro. That makes sense. Could you imagine going back in time just a couple of years and telling people you'll be wishing for the sweet release of 5 mana Teferi compared to the next Teferi design? They wouldn't believe you, right? They just, like, look at you and call you a liar. I think I'm supposed to draw 2 here. We're basically out of gas. Need some cards. Shaw is rich. The person that signs his checks is wealthy. Remember when people thought Carnage Tyrant was impressive? Oh, impressive. Oh, my sweet summer children. Dispute showing the wrong converted mana cost as an arena feature in the latest patch. Any advice on what would be strong in the historic format? You can find a ton of great historic decks up on my website right now. JeffHoagland.com. Well, the bot will put it in chat in a second, but JeffHoagland.com will get you to my website. But most of them are not updated after the IKO release. Here's something you need to understand. The deck lists on my website, unless we have literally just had a full spoiler, are always updated. This idea that, like, you need to gut every deck every time a new set release is nonsense. If you look at a number of those deck lists, there's a couple of different things in the mana base. I shoved Triomes in a couple of mana bases, among other things. But you don't need to gut every deck you put together every time a new set comes out. So yeah, they're updated. It was funny that WotC changed their website because we had magicesports.net. It was amusing. But Jeff, not every deck is running a companion, right? They changed to magic.gg is the site that they use now. I'm gonna cycle this for no value, because if I hit any non-creature spell, we get to cut through their Sphinx next turn, which I think is right. I'm gonna drive running lands and hate myself. I don't know if that's the right play, but it's the sweet play, so let's do it. Is it getting windy in here, chat, or is it just the sharks? I'm new around here. Can you explain the talk about my bad relationship with Wizards of the Coast? To give you, I don't believe in beating around the bush or misrepresenting. So to give you the direct quote from the Wizards of the Coast representative that I talked with on the phone at one point, they told me that the feedback I provide makes me a liability to work with. And end quote. When I say things that are critical of Wizards of the Coast, they would prefer that I wouldn't. And they choose not to work with me because I do. And that's fine. At the end of the day, it's really not a big deal. They probably don't pay that much anyways. Let's be honest, you're open about... So, like, that's the thing, though, YOLO Swag. Like, Wizards of the Coast, as a company, is a very liberal-leaning company. Wizards of the Coast has determined that by being a liberal-leaning company, they stand to make the most profit. It would be really easy for them to just say, Jeff, we don't want to work with you because you're political. But honestly, if they said that, it would probably lose them support, right? Because, like, the things I'm openly political about are kind of popular, especially among people in the Magic community on average. That'd be a very easy cop-out. Well, you know.
Let's slow this down.
Sure, but I'm saying they didn't say that. They very easily could have said that. They very easily could have been just like, Jeff, your political leanings and stances you take on stream are not okay. And we can't work with you because of that. And to that, I would have been like, yeah, sure, I get it, no big deal. Like, I'm realistic and reasonable. But that's not what I said. They explicitly called out the feedback that I give regarding Magic the Gathering and their decisions on their products and things like that. That's the thing they have issue with the content that I make.
I'll protect you.
I was getting rid of Can this morning. Very reasonable, Karate Dumb. And honestly, reasonable is just the good descriptor. The people calling for that deck to be banned, I feel like they're more and more silly the more I play it. Like, really, deck really does not seem that strong.
Making this up as I go.
Yep, the old main phase Embercleave chat. Cleave ho! Put this on my friend the Borrower. Give my friend Teferi here what he deserves. Yes, blocks resolve. Teach our opponent how trample and double strike work here. Hint, not how they want it to. Charge. All right, perfect pet, I choose you. Sure, but guess what? Even if Lurrus is being played in Grixis and Jeskai Delver, who cares? You know what else gets played in every deck in Legacy? Flipping Brainstorm and Ponder. So unless Lurrus has more play in Legacy than Brainstorm and Ponder, I don't want to hear about it being too good. But Jeff, Brainstorm and Ponder have existed for 15 years. They're pillars of the format, Jeff. You can't ban pillars of the format, Jeff. Jeff, think of the pillars, Jeff! People are silly. People are silly, chat. So this is 6, puts them to 10. Next turn I can bounce, play 3-1, still kill them. So I think I'm going to hold on to the bounce for now. Well, I still have a 2-turn clock regardless, right? Will somebody please think of the pillars? Oh, I guess we're not a guaranteed 2-turn clock if they Borrower. Would people have called Mox Opal a pillar of modern? They definitely would have. Definitely would have. Someone said there's no way to beat Lurrus's endless card advantage. Gosh, if only Magic had ways to kill a 3-2 for 3. It's real shame that in 26 years of Magic's history, they've never managed to print a way to kill a 3-2 for 3. Or exile a graveyard. Just stone cold unbeatable. Is Shock legal in Vintage? Yeah. Like, if you have a removal spell, the card is literally just like Snapcaster Mage, right? You just have to kill it. Bajuka Bog, am I a joke to you, right? It's a rogue refiner in a lot of ways, yeah. Lukewarm take, better rogue refiner is okay to remain legal in Vintage and Legacy. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't care what they do with companions in these older formats. I just think it's really amusing how people react every time they introduce something new that, like, has an impact. Dorat closing it out. Closing it out. He is the perfect pet, chat. Perfect pet carries the perfect sword. New things are scary and weird. They are a little scary and weird. The artwork on these IQR lands is pretty great. Looks like a flash mirror here, potentially. I don't know, I feel like it's too early in the format to really define who the baddies are. There actually haven't been that many Embercleaves in this format to date. I think in large part because the Luris decks tend to beat up mono red. Like we played black red Luris for like 2 hours yesterday, and like the mono red matchup felt so good. Kind of just looking for a threat here, huh? Yeah, more counter spells will do too. Ooh, the bestest threat, chat. The bestest threat. The uncounterable shark. I like the more aggressive slant of the black-red Luris deck more than the white-black build. The white-black build felt like it was trying to be more mid-rangey and generate value into the mid-game, and the red build felt like it was better at actually getting people dead. I'm a big fan of getting people dead. Hi Shin, thanks for the 5 months. Welcome back. I appreciate it. My favorite is mutating shark arms on Baby Godzilla to form Baby Shark. That's great. Do 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 do. Really? Paradise Druid. You don't say. I was like, smart. It was good. The Gyruda deck seems like a very reasonable new cannon deck for the format. Not too strong, pretty reasonable overall. How crazy is it? How punished can I get if I intervention for 4 at end of turn here? They can, like, bounce my Shark, play a Night Pack Ambusher, but I think that's still okay. I could also just end step Embercleave, that's true. I think I'd rather do this for 4. I feel like even worst case scenario is still pretty okay for us here. Now I get to shock this in and attack with both of these. Because now I can cleave plus Ionize with the 7th land here. Get to put them to 2, so they're dead to our next Ionize trigger now. Our next Ionize resolving. Shocks and Bonecrusher Giants also lethal. And that assumes they're able to interact with what's on the board here. Giving swords to flying sharks is the natural progression of B-level horror movie plots. Ain't that the truth? Alright, so Gust, Dispute, Dragonfire all seem okay here. I think Thassa Intervention is actually probably a little bit medium here. It just gets countered like we saw that game. What do I actually want to get rid of here? Do I trim Ionize on the draw because it's a little clunky? That's probably the case. Would I rather have Stroke than Dragonfire? I feel like I'm putting them on Nissas and Frilled Mystics and probably Night Pack Ambusher, so just Stroke seems pretty reasonable. They go Druid on 2, I can hold up Stroke on 2. I like it. I like it. I think I keep this even while missing red. The opt hopefully helps us find it. We're on the draw. We have 2 decent threats. So when I cast that opt, it felt like they might have a dispute, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass here, I think. Can a mod make a command explaining Arena's new dispute feature? I mean, Thassa's intervention isn't really good against big mana decks, right? It draws dead pretty quickly in terms of being a counter. If you go back and watch the Blue-Black Flash video on YouTube from yesterday, there's a wrap-up segment at the end where I talk about changes I would make in the direction I'd want to go with the deck in. Can always find those at the end of my videos. I think I'm going to go ahead and dispute this, because if they untap and play Nissa, I can just Embercleave to kill her next turn. He says before he realizes he doesn't have an untapped red. I should have waited to play my land there until I decided I was going to dispute. So when I disputed, I should have played the Triome, and that was a mistake on my part. Didn't get punished because they don't have a Nissa, but worth pointing out my mistake. Yes, they also added a bug with Thassa's intervention. I think that was 2 patches ago, actually, where it doesn't give you priority when you should get priority with the second mode. You need to manually click on their end step if you want a Thassa's intervention for cards at their end step. So yeah, the workaround for that is you need to click on their end step here like this, and then it'll stop on their end step. You shouldn't have to do that, but you do right at the moment. Yesterday's patch note says they fixed the intervention bug. Okay, someone said it just happened to them yesterday, so maybe that's not the case. When in doubt, put your stops. Yeah, when they're not getting Brazen Borrower, this card's been really good. Yeah, similar to Dreadhorde Butcher, but notably they're evasive, right? So like the fact that they don't just get stonewalled by a gummy battlefield seems like a big deal. If you're someone that's just joining us for the day, and you didn't see my bit at the very beginning of the stream today, this clip is great once the bot posts it. The bot hasn't quite had its coffee yet this morning and is moving very slowly. Listen, chat. The bot's trying its hardest. We can all relate to that in the current climate. Cut it some slack. Well, that's really unfortunate. It's a shame I don't have like an opt or something, so I can't double trigger this. Would have been a really good blowout if I did. I take a card out of my hand. Really clean 2-for-1 here for the opponent. Was that clip in reference to? If you're out of the loop and you're not sure why that clip is supposed to be funny, that means you are currently unaware of the fact that the President of the United States implied people inject cleaning supplies into themselves to cure themselves of COVID yesterday during his daily propaganda session. And when I say I wish I was joking, I really do wish I was joking. No, I think it's fair to say saying he implied it is like gray enough that it's certainly the truth. I think there are definitely interpretations that say that could say he went further than that, but alright, cleave please. Rats. Rats. We can at least get this big enough to not die to the Tollsmere Wolf, but good chance we're just dead here. May I ask why I shocked there? Because my life total realistically does not matter this game, and there's a chance I might want to cycle this Triome and cast a 2-mana spell. The company that owns Lysol is based in the UK and had to actually release a statement saying, "Oh God, please don't inject or ingest our products." Yep. Yep. Did my opponent get Comcasted here? Or just Arena'd, maybe. Arena's been a little bit disconnecty since the latest patch. Well, you know. Hey, thanks for 11 months, Keithris. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, a little bit of a sad ending. I want to, like, actually play games, not just farm points, right? Well, in the event that they get reconnected and come back for a game 2, I'm going to cut my cheap removal and bring in a bunch more cards that can counterspell their big plays. Under no circumstances should our disinfected products be administered into the human body through injection, ingestion, or any other route. I'm glad they threw the any other route on there, just to make sure no one tries to use it as like a suppository or something. Well, I think our opponent's disconnected, chat. I think our opponent's disconnected. This is kind of wild. Let me, how do I, hold on 1 second. This is kind of neat. Someone just sent me this. I'm gonna have to look into setting this up for when we occasionally have background. This is kind of wild.
Anything you'd ever expect, right? Like, I don't think an audio engineer could do any better than this in a live broadcast, not by a long shot. And I can even take the fan away. I can point it in different directions. I can move it around. I can bang on the desk. While I'm talking to you guys, I can bang on the desk and have a fan blowing at the microphone and my face, banging on the desk. So it's like a construction site. And you guys can still literally hear me fine, and I sound okay. Like this, like if you were just sitting there listening to the live stream, this wouldn't be annoying in the background. This is fucking hilarious. Okay, this is genuinely the coolest shit I've ever seen. All right, there, I just disabled the filter. This is what it sounds like right now. Hey guys, welcome to Afternoon Coffee. Yes. Stream, this wouldn't be annoying in the background.
That's wild.
This is fucking hilarious.
Like, that's okay, really cool.
This is genuinely the coolest shit I've ever seen. All right, there, I just disabled the filter. This is what it sounds like, right?
Sorry he was swearing there. Usually I try not to swear, but that's really pretty novel. That's really cool technology. Just pure software filtering. Like that's a huge deal. Like that was all, apparently that's all on the software side, just like a toggle. Yeah, I can link that. I have to look into getting something like that set up. That could realistically, so like my stream room's not going to be done this summer because of the COVID thing. We're not having people into our house to work on it until all of this is passed. And like last summer we had a hum from my air conditioner that's right up outside my room here, and that could potentially just like get rid of that completely. Like, that's really cool. Yeah, and with a stream room, you would have, like, literal silence. Requires RTX cores and graphics. Some people said it doesn't require RTX cores. Someone said it works with 10 series graphics cards, too. It actually does not require RTX cores. Okay, sweet. You have a 960. Yeah, I have a 1080 GTX. It helps having RTX cores. Okay. It's just a recommendation. Requires a workaround though. I'll have to give it a try. And if it works better with RTX cores, if I'm being honest, I was looking for an excuse to buy a new graphics card. I was looking for an excuse to buy a new graphics card, so it sounds pretty glitchy and robot-y when he has the filter on. Really? Were you listening to the same thing I was listening to? Maybe it's just your sound, because he sounded pretty much identical through my headphones. Anybody else feel that way? I feel like I did not. I listened to that and I didn't feel that way listening to it. Just registered my deck, and I've got to say they did not match my archetype, which is a confirmation that my deck is bad. $3,000 series card should be releasing in September, which should make the 2,000 series cards cheaper, right? Do you think an RTX GPU would bottleneck my 4700K processor? Real question. Like, my processor is no slouch. You think an RTX graphics card would bottleneck my 4700K? $8,700K? I don't know. How do I check that on Windows? I genuinely don't know how to check. I genuinely don't know how to check that on Windows. Device manager. Audio output. Where's the processor? 8,700K. 8,700K was correct. Fancy that. It should not. Yeah, 8,700K. What if we bounce this before you sacrifice my thing? Yeah, that's because they believe their glorious leader, Admiral. Trump said what now? Trump implied that you should ingest or inject cleaning supplies into your body to fight COVID. And it's something about UV lights to boot. The RTX voice doesn't work with your 1070. I'll have to play with it. It's something I'll have to make a point to play with before summer. The UV light play was just to make everybody orange so they can't make fun of him. I mean, can Trump really be the dumbest human on the planet if he's convinced 29 million Americans to vote for him? Have you looked at the classic window? I love the Windows 10 start menu. In fact, all I do is have things pinned to it, and then if you hit Windows key S, there's a search feature. I don't really use my start menu. I use the search feature. Searching is busted, chat. Don't fumble through menus. Use the search feature. Start menus are for boomers, right? Am I dead? Did I just die? I think I might have just died by shocking. Should I have left? I probably should have left the cutthroat back. Yeah, I just died actually, right? So I go to 6 here. They attack me to 3. They attack for lethal because I wanted to play this. Bunted that one pretty badly. Should have left cutthroat back because they had a free block anyways. Should have left cutthroat back. Was my mistake. Let's bring in all our removal spells here. Speaking of graphics cards, by the way, are the prices on graphics cards still, like, extremely jacked up? Because of everything surrounding everything in the world right now? Are they absurdly expensive? How much do we, people are saying yes, how much is extremely jacked up? Like, retail's like $500 or $600 usually, right? And they've always been pretty expensive. So like, did they actually go up more, or are you people just cheap? Like the 2000 series has always been expensive. $2070 is around $350. Sure, that's like super reasonable. Your RTX card is only $100 more than when you bought it last year. Yeah, that's not that much. It's like 20% up. 20-30% up. Rowlands, thanks for the 10 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I'm going to kill this in response so they can't just sacrifice it later. Someone asked about Grafdigger's Cage for just Cat. I think that's too narrow. I guess they have Woe Strider too. I don't know. Without the guaranteed value from Luris, I'm less inclined to do it. It's 2x the price going from a 2060 to a 2080. Yeah, that's about normal. They have a preference for NVIDIA / Radeon and G-Sync / FreeSync. I have no idea what the details are on those two things. You know, I do know that I have an interest in utilizing the RTX voice technology that was just displayed on stream this summer, though. So that would easily be a selling feature. The 2000 series NVIDIA graphic card also have a number of other things for streaming too, like they do graphics encoding, or they do video stream encoding on a separate part of the graphics chip now. You get the 280 Super for $700. Sure, so that's not really much markup then. Also, like, I don't really do real gaming chat. Like, this is basically the extent of the games I play. The only games I played in recent memory are Magic Arena, Raid Shadow Legends, and the new Pokemon Sword on the Switch. So, like, do we expect? I haven't played Overwatch since the whole Blitzchung thing happened. Feels like we're dead. Feels pretty dead. We 2-1 in this set now, 3-1. Let's try one more. He's been quick. Do you play any Switch games with the wife? Only if you count playing Mario Party with Declan. All of us play Mario Party together. Do we think people were talking about the NVIDIA 3000 series hitting in September? Do we think they're still going to hit that date with everything going on? Or is that probably not realistic? And like, people are expecting those cards to be cheaper. Production lines for those new cards are probably going to have issues, right? I feel like every major new tech release is probably going to get pushed back. Like, every new major release of anything is probably getting pushed back with everything that's going on right now. Yeah, this is kind of unprecedented, so yeah, it's probably hard to know precisely what issues we're gonna butt up against with this. Unprecedented times and all that. The Conduct Together game is, like, genuinely very challenging early in. Christy and I, when Declan and I get stuck on a level, Christy and I have played some of the levels on that together. It can be genuinely very hard. It's, for people that aren't familiar, it's a game I had tweeted about it at one point. Christy got it on sale on the Switch store for like a penny. It's a game where like you conduct trains together, and you have to have them deliver passengers to stations without crashing into each other. Has a lot going on. You played Overcooked? I have not.
I'm known for my excellent timing.
Yeah, usually divvying things up works really well. When Declan and I play together, I give him like one train to be in charge of, and he just watches for that train, and I try to do everything else. But sometimes it's hard to do everything else, there's a lot going on. Stop it. Get some help. You foresee a day where my kids create content with me? Maybe. So, making children's content is something that we could do for fun at some point, but it definitely can't really be any business aspect to that because of how all the policies on YouTube changed recently. Any content that you make that goes up on YouTube that involves kids basically can't be monetized. Hey, Tsunami, thanks for the 15 months. I thought this was real capitalism, right? That seems like a good change. I don't know. To a degree, I think it seems a little heavy-handed and silly. It feels like one of those instances where if you understand why the law changed, I think you'd probably agree that it's stupid. The reason why you can't monetize kids content on YouTube anymore is because you can't use tracking cookies in the browsers of children to serve up advertisements for targeted ads. That's the reason why. That's the part that was deemed not okay. You can't access browser tracking cookies from children. Yes, I mean, it's like money related because they're technically trying to protect kids, I guess. No, it has nothing to do with people abusing children or anything like that. The reason why it exists is the way they changed the rule is very silly. Yeah, YouTube doesn't really have a good method of getting proper parent compliance for COPPA and GDPR and stuff like that. Is the issue. Red source. Alright, well, you know. Jump away. Isn't that fundamentally silly? Because you can never know when someone is actually a child on the internet. It is very silly for that exact reason, King Doris. So basically the line in the sand that they drew is that if the content looks like it's aimed at children, it then is automatically not okay. You know, maybe I should have played Bonecrusher out there. That's kind of bad against a sweeper, though. Well, if I scryed 2 and hit the red source, I wouldn't have had lethal through the Yorion, right? Now, I think it's better to use my Scry there rather than spend 1 mana to shock to fizzle the Oath Trigger and basically deal 1 more damage. Probably did here. Someone asked how this deck's been doing. It's felt pretty mediocre. All of these Flash decks for the last couple of seasons have felt pretty whatever to me. The only iteration of Flash that's felt somewhat reasonable in recent memory is the one that played Nissa and Hydrate Crisis, because it was playing genuinely good cards. These decks are, like, fun to play with when they work, but they tend to just, like, run out of gas too quickly, which is why having genuinely good cards in them, like Nissa and Hydrate Crisis, tends to go a long way. So close, and yet so far away. Dream Trawler's going to gain them at least 5. Birth's going to gain them 2 next turn. And they're very likely to have a removal spell for my Bonecrusher. Yep. Alright, so Disputes and Disdainful Strokes. Shocks, pretty bad here. Bonecrusher Giant, kind of whatever. And the rest of this seems particularly useful. Pretty easy in, easy out. Leaving a couple of Bonecrusher Giants in his flying, so a little bit of reach, and they're also a threat that we can suit up. Yeah, the big upside to playing the Black Flash deck is having that constant flow of cards from both the Octopus and the Slitherwisp. And I guess we could technically play Octopus in this deck if we wanted, but I don't really know what the easy cut is for that. Got the whole deck and play a different Octopus deck? Yeah, probably. Needs more Deep Fiend. I do love me an Elder Squid. Just for reference, even though this says 1, you drag it up, and then it asks you to pay 3. So again, just a visual bug in the latest patch. I'm going to go ahead and stomp their face here, because I'm going to untap and play a 4-3 here, I think. He says before he draws the Dorian. The Dorat. Man, this bug just bleeds so much information, huh? Yeah, when the open goes live with the first round, all 256 deck lists in the event will be available on Magic, MTG Melee.
I know my responsibility. This might be a bad idea.
This isn't even good, right? Like, I hit this, and like they go land, Yorian, blink this, reset this.
That's more like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it a day. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's too many Tefrees in the format, and like, I think even the non-Tefree matchups felt kind of hard. Not having removal spells. It was a little unfortunate that the Zac deck we ran into was one of the non-Lurrus variations. Because, like, our shocks and stuff line up well into, like, the Lurrus variations, but, like, when you add Mayhem Devil into the mix, you, like, look at our deck here, and we have no ways in the main deck to kill that. And we've got, like, a couple in the sideboard along with our counter spells, but that card still is just going to come down and kill a lot of our stuff a lot of the time. Yeah, it just felt similar to how I felt about this deck at the end of last season. The collection of cards, what we were doing, just, like, wasn't very inherently powerful. Our deck was kind of relying on, like, little bits of synergy, and our cards are just, like, individually weak, and too often our key cards like these just, like, die to removal spells or get bounced and don't generate any meaningful value while doing so. And you just, like, the amount of build-up you have to do to make these cards relevant just doesn't feel particularly good. Like, the payoff that you're getting for the effort that you're going through to make them good doesn't feel proportional. Alright, what are we doing? We're going to try a different blue-red deck up next. I'm going to hit a quick ad roll, I get my client restarted and the deck list updated everywhere. When we get back, we're going to try flooping some Phoenixes into play here among some other things. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out today, folks. Don't go anywhere.